Hey, what's going on, everybody? Paul Tech here, and welcome to my full review of the iPhone 6s Plus in 2020. So this device right here was released back in 2015, and it actually was released with a pretty hefty price tag. I remember when it was first launched, even at its lowest storage capacity of 16 gigabytes, it was still way too expensive for me, and I could never pick it up when it was first launched. Well, we're now in 2020, and you can actually pick up a 6s Plus 64 gigabytes renewed off of Amazon for $175, which is a pretty great value in my opinion. So I'm going to share with you my experience of using a 6s Plus in 2020 as my daily smartphone, and I'll let you know if I still think it's worth picking up today. Let's go ahead and kick this off with design and build. So on the right hand side, you got your power button there. You also got the tray that's going to house your SIM card, and then you have an antenna line to the top and bottom of the right side. Take a look at the bottom there. You get a single down firing speaker. You get your lightning charging port there. You get a microphone, and this does have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. That's correct, an iPhone with a headphone jack. On the left hand side, you got your alert slider there, your mute toggle switch, and then you also got your volume rockers to the left hand side. And let's go ahead and take a look at the back of the 6s Plus. So you get a single camera on this, and that's going to be a 12 megapixel f2.2 aperture camera. You got your flash, and this does have the antenna line going across the back. And I know that did have a lot of buzz at the time when this was released about the antenna lines. A lot of people really disliked it. For me, I didn't really mind because I was just going to slap a case on this device anyways, and I would never see the antenna lines anyways. You got your Apple logo to the back, an antenna line going across the bottom there. You got the S badge to the back, so you know this was the iPhone 6s Plus, not the 6 Plus. This is also housing a 2,750 milliamp hour battery. This is a really nice design in my opinion. You get 7000 series aluminum here, so it's built like a tank. It's very durable. It can actually handle some pretty good drops as well. And overall, I really like the design of this. I like the weight in the hand. It's a nice design in my opinion. And moving on to the display now. Now, the iPhone 6s Plus, to a lot of people, will probably seem like it has a dated look to the front or with the display since it's not OLED. It's just an IPS LCD display. With the newer iPhones now, you got the notch up on top, or even some more affordable Android devices has very slim bezels, maybe a notch or a camera hole cutout. So, I can see where the front does look a little dated, but compared to an iPhone 8 Plus, it's very similar in design. Of course, it doesn't have the OLED display, but what you're getting here is a 5.5 inch display, 1080 by 1920 resolution, so a 16:9 aspect ratio, and 401 pixels per inch. I think this is still a very nice 1080p panel. It has some nice colors, some decent viewing angles. So for watching YouTube videos, movies, everything does look really nice on this display. And with the large bezels to the top and bottom, in my opinion, it just gives you a place to hold the 6s Plus. And with the 6s Plus to the bottom there, you are going to get Touch ID. So you actually have a physical fingerprint sensor to the bottom, and it works 100% of the time. I never have issues with Touch ID. I actually really enjoy using it, and I just have both of my thumbs registered, and it just works 100% of the time. It's so simple, so easy, and it's very secure. It's a great security feature. Another option that you have here with the 6s Plus is 3D Touch, and I'm a type of user that I use 3D Touch. I know some people will be like, well, I don't use 3D Touch, I don't need it. I like 3D Touch. I like just long pressing on an app, and then I get a variety of different options that I can just jump right into. So 3D Touch, you got that on board here. Now let's go ahead and talk about phone calls, call quality, 4G LTE. So I got some great LTE connectivity here. My device is unlocked. I'm using it on Mint Mobile. Calls sound perfect, 100% clear on both ends. And you also got FaceTime, which I love using FaceTime. I use it all the time with friends and family. And moving on to the messaging application here, the keyboard. As you can see, the layout. Now for me, I probably send out more text messages and emails than I actually make phone calls. I'm always sending out texts and emails. And with the 6s Plus here, you get a wide variety of features packed in to the keyboard, especially if you are sending out text messages. And for me, I just like all the variety that you get on board here with iOS. And I also want to mention, now that I see the Apple Pay, that you do have the Apple Pay on board the 6s Plus. So you can basically use your Touch ID to authorize transactions without needing to enter enter a passcode, and you can also do the same for downloading applications just by using your Touch ID. Now, when it comes to the keyboard sensitivity, it's excellent. I hardly have any errors when I am typing on this keyboard, and the predictive text works extremely well. And moving on to performance on the 6S Plus. So using this as my daily smartphone, I've been very pleased with the overall performance of the 6S Plus. I love all the features that are packed into it. iOS 13 brought a lot of great features. I haven't had any issues with Wi-Fi connectivity, Bluetooth, also like the dark mode that you have on board here. And so there's a lot packed into the 6S Plus. It's actually, in my opinion, probably has gotten better over the years. Now, when it comes to what's under the hood of the 6S Plus, you are going to get Apple's A9 chip, as well as 2 gigabytes of RAM. Now, don't let the 2 gigabytes of RAM fool you or scare you, because it's not like 2 gigs of RAM on an Android device. It's night and day. So when it comes to opening up applications, everything opens up fairly quickly. I mean, I'm not going to say it's like lightning fast. It's not going to be as fast as the newer iPhones, but the A9 chip is no slouch. It can definitely open up apps fairly quick, and system applications seem to just open up right away with hardly any delay. So maybe you'll see maybe a 1-second delay at times depending on the application. But for the most part, you know, the 6S Plus has been a very reliable smartphone for me. You know, I'm able to download all the applications. None of my apps crash with my time of using the 6S Plus. And, you know, it's pretty fluid even with the RAM management. I notice most of the time my apps tend to stay open in the background and they don't refresh. I mean, every once in a while, certain apps will refresh in the background, but, you know, for the most part, a very dependable, very well-performing device here. And moving on to software now. So when the 6S Plus was released back in 2015, it came out with iOS 9. It's been supported all this time up to 2020, and it's on 13.3.1, just the same as my iPhone XR. So it's pretty fantastic to see this device being supported for such a long period of time. And rumor has it, some strong sources are telling me that this is going to get iOS 14, which is just going to even more make this device awesome and a reason to pick up in 2020. So I'm definitely hopeful that this will get iOS 14. I'm pretty certain that it will, but of course you never know what Apple decides to do at the end. But, you know, if it does get iOS 14, I'll definitely make a follow-up video. And let's go ahead and move on and talk about gaming on the 6S Plus. So you get a wide variety of games to choose from on the App Store. All the games downloaded perfectly fine. None of the games froze on me or crashed. I got the best gaming performance when I was playing on medium graphic settings. And I did notice with long periods of gameplay, the back of the 6S Plus did get a little warm around the Apple logo. And I got the best gaming performance when I was playing on medium graphic settings. Hardly any drops in frames and lag. And you can definitely be able to play all your favorite titles like Fortnite, PUBG, Call of Duty. I will say that the battery life does take a hit when it comes to gameplay. I don't know if it's like that on other devices, but on my 6S Plus, the battery does drain rather quickly when I was playing, a lot of these games. Now, when it comes to audio on the 6S Plus, you're going to get that single down-firing speaker. Then you're also going to get a 3.5mm headphone jack, and I love the fact that this has a headphone jack. I prefer a device that has a headphone jack. My iPhone XR and 7 Plus just drive me crazy because I always forget that adapter, that dongle. So I love that you got a headphone jack here. And the single down-firing speaker is decent. You know, it would have been best if it was a front-firing speaker, but nevertheless, you know, it can produce some decent audio. Here is a sample coming from that single down-firing speaker. And moving on to the cameras now. So you get a single 12 megapixel rear facing camera with a f2.2 aperture. Then you're going to get a 5 megapixel front facing camera. Now, when it comes to point and shoot, the 6S Plus does a fantastic job. You actually get some pretty nice dynamic range, and you get some really good, crisp and sharp looking photos out of the 6S Plus. I mean, just take a look as I zoom in. I know this has a single camera, but as you can see, it really captures a lot of great quality, and it doesn't really get distorted when you actually zoom in to subjects. So I really like taking photos with the 6S Plus. It's one of the best cameras that you can get if you're looking for a affordable device, from that $150 to $200 price range. You're going to get a good solid camera on the 6S Plus. Now, when it comes to the recording capabilities here, 4K 30 frames per second. Yes, it's not the 60 frames per second like on the newer iPhones, but you can still record at 4K. And the 1080p at 60 frames per second looks extremely nice in my opinion. You get really nice, smooth frame rates. So I think this is a really good camera that you got here. I mean, I think it was ahead of its time for being released back in 2015. I mean, just take a look at how clear everything looks with the viewfinder, and the stabilization is really great on the 6S Plus. So, and the only negative I would say about the camera is the fact that there is no night mode. So things can get a little grainy when you are shooting in low lit environments, dark scenarios. And if you're looking for a wide angle lens camera, you're not going to get it on the 6S Plus. But if you don't need a wide angle lens camera and you just want something that can take some really nice photos and videos, then this is a really good option for you. Here's some camera samples shot on the iPhone 6S Plus. And moving on to battery life on the iPhone 6S Plus. So again, this is housing a 2,750 milliamp hour non-removable battery. On most days, I can make it through an entire day off a single charge. But if I'm using this device heavy, I'm gaming, I'm on social media, I'm using it heavy, I'll have to charge before the end of the night. So just kind of keep that in mind. Battery life, is not as good as the newer iPhones. So if you're using this device heavy, you'll probably have to charge up before the end of the day. And again, you want to make sure if you pick this up that the battery life is of good health, so you don't have to replace it like at an Apple store in the future. But for the most part, that's pretty much it for my iPhone 6S Plus review in 2020. I think this is still a fantastic option. I think if you decide to pick this up, you're going to be very happy. If you want to save some money, you don't want to get the latest iPhones, this is definitely a good option, has some good value to it, especially since the price has come down so much in 2020. Just shop around, you can find some good deals, and just make sure that battery health is up to par so you don't have to go and replace it. But then again, if you need to replace it, it doesn't cost all that much amount of money. That's pretty much it, everybody. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button, and please subscribe to the channel for more future videos just like this. This is Paul Tech, and the iPhone 6S Plus is definitely worth it in 2020. And I'll talk to you on the next one. Bye.